Hello, so I'm going to briefly talk about Standard 1 of the new aged care standards, which is consumer dignity and choice. We just refer to residents rather than consumers, and we're implementing at Ananda this year a new resident-focused care model. So Standard 1 of the standards is a foundation standard. It's at the centre of all the other 7 standards. So if we don't meet Standard 1, the chances are we can't meet the other standards either. The strong focus of Standard 1 is on resident choice and preference, and that's choice and preference about everything that happens to them, whether it's food choices, ADLs, who looks after them, when they look after them, how they want care delivered, and when. We have to engage with each resident and find out exactly what their culture is, what their background is, as is important to them. And we need to build that into a plan of care for each individual person. So where in the past we've provided meals at certain times, we've provided them in certain places, there's been a choice, but it's been a choice of 1 or 2 things, and where we've provided activities at certain times in certain locations, that doesn't necessarily meet the requirements of every individual resident. And the consumer outcome for Standard 1 is stated as I am treated with dignity and respect and can maintain my identity. I can make informed choices about my care and services and live the life I choose. So every consumer, every resident must be able to say that for us to pass this standard. So it's very different to the current standards. We have to work with each and every individual resident, and we have to know what's important to them. To do that, we have to tap into something called cultural safety, which is a new term within the standards. And cultural safety just means everyone's an individual, we're all individuals, and what makes us tick is different to everyone else. We have to know as far as is possible and as far as the resident wants us to know what is important for them. So that could be about their history, their background, their culture, their religious background, and their sexuality. Within the standards, diversity is very strongly embedded within Standard 1. So we are a multicultural staff workforce at Ananda, and certainly a multicultural resident population. But we have to work harder about not just providing cultural days throughout the year, which we do very well, but what is important to the culture of each individual resident? What can we provide more for each resident to meet their cultural, spiritual or sexual background and history? We've started to provide multi-faith areas. There's certainly one in Findon already, and we're going to provide one at Hope Valley for staff to pray in if they wish to, or to go to as a quiet area, a contemplation area, and certainly for the residents as well. Within Standard 1, Ananda must demonstrate that it does not discriminate, and of course there are legal requirements not to discriminate, and that includes by gender, by age, by cultural background, spirituality or religion, and also sexuality. So you will see we've put expressions of interest out for a new diversity action group within Ananda, and we're really looking forward to people coming to tell us how we're doing in terms of culture and sexuality within Ananda, and how we meet the needs of both staff and residents in that respect, to become a culturally friendly organisation. The other thing, I guess, in Standard 1 that is new is something called dignity of risk. And this accepts that everyone takes risks in life. Risks are a natural part of life, and we all take risks. If you drive to work, cycle to work, you're taking a risk. If you play sports or basically you do anything, you're taking some sort of risk. And that should be the case with the aged care population as well, within certain limits, obviously. But previously, I guess we've erred too far on the safety aspects of care, and perhaps have constrained some things that residents would like to do, which would make them happy and increase their quality of life, for fear of things like falls. So in terms of dignity of risk, we need to take each activity or situation on a case-by-case basis and work with the resident to meet that need where we can. But certainly already we've opened up the doors particularly at Hope Valley, we've opened up the doors at both memory support units to allow freedom of movement for our residents, and that's working really well. And we have examples where residents are now helping the maintenance team by doing jobs, and we're providing meaningful activity for those residents, and they're feeding back that they really appreciate being involved in those things because it makes them feel worthwhile and important, and that's part of our role at Ananda, is to do that, not just to look after people and ensure their safety, which we still need to do, but to promote their well-being and quality of life. So Standard 1's a big standard. We're doing a lot of things in this area, but you'll understand some of the changes we're making is because we can no longer say to residents, you can't do that, or we don't do that here, or we haven't got that here. We may not right now, but if a resident is feeding back to us that they're not happy about something, or they want their preference and choice is not being met, we need to take that on board and address that as much as we possibly can. So from a staff point of view, we do encourage feedback through the verbal feedback forms or the blue forms from residents. So please do actively provide that feedback when you can. All right, so that's basically in a nutshell Standard 1. I'll leave you now and we'll pick up on Standard 2 shortly. Thank you.